Y'all know me. I'm pretty light on the language front. I try not to be too. I'm a softie. I am. Okay. I'm not saying it's correct. I'm just kind of a softie. And so I'm not saying this is how we should speak about things politically, what you're about to watch, but it did make me bust out laughing a little bit joyfully when I watched it. And it's a Danish politician saying to Trump, F off with this Greenland talk. And the way that it's delivered is just, so we'll watch it. And of course, Greenland being a part of the Danish territory, part of Denmark. And so here is a Danish politician saying, here's what I have to say to Donald for all this talk of potentially militarily invading Greenland. While you watch, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate this show.
Mr. Trump, f*** off. Dear President Trump, listen very carefully. Greenland has been part of the Danish kingdom for 800 years. It's an integrated part of our country. It is not for sale. Let me put it in words you might understand. Mr. Trump, f*** off.
It is not okay in this house of democracy. Thank you. Regardless of what we think of Mr. Trump, it is not possible to use such language.
Right. And listen, of course, you're going to have in these, as he said, houses of democracy and legislative or other chambers, like if this were happening in the House of Representatives, of course, you're going to say this is not a part of our rules. We are going to be civil, but hilarious. And he knew it was going to go viral. And indeed, it did. Last week, the Prime Minister of Greenland made it clear that the territory has no intention of becoming American. We will always be a part of NATO. Prime Minister OMG told Fox News, we will always be a strong partner for U.S. We are close neighbors. We have been cooperating in the last 80 years, and I think the future have a lot to offer to cooperate with. But we want to also be clear, we don't want to be Americans. We don't want to be a part of U.S., but we want a strong cooperation together with U.S. Imagine being Greenland, just sort of minding your own business, following probably, much of the world does, the U.S. presidential election, but not thinking you're going to be dragged into it at all. And then all of a sudden Trump goes, yeah, the military's on the table for acquiring Greenland. And you're just like, what? And it just may prompt one of the politicians to say,
Mr. Trump, f*** off.
Very funny. But one thing that makes me want to say that to Donald Trump is this clip. We talked about it yesterday, but yesterday, I got to be honest, I was a little tired. And I don't think I brought the energy necessary to respond to this because of how infuriating. So we're circling back to it. Then we'll move on. And there's more to talk about in this segment. But remember that just last week, yes, I know we talked about it, but we need a second take, okay? Because just last week, J.D. Vance was saying this.
January 6th pardons, President Trump says there's a process. Where is the line drawn on who will and wouldn't be considered for a pardon?
I think it's very simple. Look, if you protested peacefully on January the 6th and you've had Merrick Garland's Department of Justice treat you like a gang member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. And there's a
obviously. What does that mean even? What does that mean? What does that word even mean to you? Obviously. Because the second that Trump says F it, and you might be thinking, Luke, why do you keep saying that? No, he literally said that, quote, unquote, F it, release them all. White House insiders revealed that President Donald Trump's sweeping pardon of 1,500 individuals connected to the January 6th Capitol riot was a last-minute decision by him amid internal debate. Trump just said, F it, release them all. And I do love, you remember yesterday we talked about how Trump said that Spain was a part of BRICS. It's not, but he used that to justify saying maybe we should throw a 100% tariff on them. So his attitude is very much that of someone who just goes F it when talking about a historic decision to pardon people who violently attacked police officers in an attempt to go after politicians, in an attempt to block the peaceful chance for power. F it is his attitude. I don't know. It'll sell well on Truth Social, so who cares? Right after his vice president had said this.
Member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. And
what do you have to say, JD? JP Mandel, what do you have to say? about that. Now, continuing on all of these different media reports, Mitch McConnell said, I agree with the vice president. Mitch McConnell tweaks Trump over January 6 pardons by citing J.D. Vance's recent comments, talking about those. And so his stance is, I agree with J.D. Vance of long ago last week on this issue. What does it even mean to articulate a stance if all it takes is your dear leader, to say, F it, for you to just toss it out the window? Do you know how these right-wing, it's not just right-wingers, but sort of right-wing adjacent red pill folks, as a massive plane is flying over us right now, apologies for that noise, they'll go, we need to have men. We need to have manly men in our society. We've lost the men. Now we live among boys like woke libtard Luke Beasley. That's a quote. We need men, no more limp-wristed liberals like Luke Beasley. And what do they mean? I assume courage, integrity, having a spine, right? Wouldn't those be characteristics of a man by their definition and mine? Yeah, unless Trump takes away your manhood, J.D. Vance, snatches it right up, and makes you contradict something you said not back when you were calling him Hitler, not even back then, or maybe America's Hitler, but just a week ago. By the way, isn't it kind of concerning that about a week ago, J.D. Vance was, I know that's an old reference, I apologize. Producer Jaden's scoffing at me. That just a week ago, J.D. Vance didn't know what the decision was going to be, such that he thought this was the stance. They only made this decision within the last week. That's how quickly they're making such big decisions. They've had all the transition. They knew this was going to be something, and they still hadn't decided by then. Or J.D. Vance wasn't read in on it, which I also believe. So yes, I do think on that, the best response is this.
Mr. Trump, off.
Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Support the show. Get the members only bonus show by clicking that join button below.